Hello and welcome to this week's Women's Football Chat. My name is Chris Gadsby. I'm here every Thursday at 6 p.m. bringing you the very latest from the third and fourth tiers of women's football here in England. That's the FA Women's National League, and my word, have we got some interesting things to talk about this week. As ever, thank you for the support on this show. We have got a lot to talk about this week, so let's get straight down to it. We'll start, as we always do, with the Northern Premier Division. Really important results in the title race taking place this week. We'll start in Brighouse. Brighouse Town 1, Nottingham Forest 1. Lucy Sowerby with the goal for Brighouse Town. Forest then equalising thanks to an own goal. But that draw is significant, as we'll explain when we go and look at the table in a few moments' time. Stoke City 3, Huddersfield Town 3. Huddersfield, great comeback in this game. Stoke City 3-0 up at half-time at home to Huddersfield. 6th minute, Kelsey Richardson. 13th minute, Roisin Kivell. And 25th minute, Sophie Bramford. 3-0 Stoke lead at the break, but Huddersfield bring it back within the final 15 minutes. Brittany Sanderson, 78th minute. Laura Hulme, 83rd minute, and Cara Fields in the 90th minute. 3-3 between Stoke City and Huddersfield Town. Really important victory for Burnley over West Brom. Took the lead early. Elizabeth Hamer in the 6th minute for Burnley. Kerry Walcott with West Bromwich Albion's only goal, but then Laura Elford just before the hour mark made it 2-1 to Burnley, who narrowly beat West Brom, but they do beat West Brom by 2-1, and a goalless draw between Wolves and Derby. Wolves also having Tammy George sent off in the 90th minute. So 0-0 draw there, which means it is advantage Burnley in the title race. Let's have a look at the table. Nottingham Forest still top, 51 points. Burnley in second on 49 points with a game in hand. That draw for Forest and the draw for Wolves with the win for Burnley. The title is no longer in Forest's hands. It's now in Burnley's hands. Burnley win both of their remaining games. They will go into that playoff. Wolves down in third. They're not out of it either. Derby County in fourth. It has been a three-horse race for a while now. Down towards the bottom, of course, Loughborough Lightning already relegated. Bournemouth St Michael's now with 2 games to go are 3 points back from safety, but with that goal difference as well, it acts like 4. They need something from both of their remaining games. We'll have a look at their running as well in a moment, because it is certainly possible for Bournemouth to do so. Key thing to think about back up at the top. So there is your league table. Let's have a look at the running now. And, we may as well start with the bottom. That's the screen I've got up. So Bournemouth St Michael's are the team in the relegation zone at the moment. They're on 16 points. West Bromwich Albion on 19 points. West Brom, though, they have a game in hand tonight against Loughborough. You'd think that West Brom will probably come through with that with the very least of a point. Now, because of that goal difference as well, you would think that Bournemouth need to get something, probably a win, from both of their final 2 games. They have Liverpool Feds this coming Sunday, then they finish with Fylde. If they can take something from that Liverpool Feds game, then with Feds playing Burnley on the final day of the season, if Bournemouth can get something, they potentially could pull off the escape here. It's certainly not out of the question, but it is difficult for Bournemouth. They cannot afford to lose now. If we have a look at the top, this is where it gets interesting, because Burnley are the team in the driving seat. Yes, they're second, but they've got a game in hand. If they win this weekend against Wolves, then they will go into the final day of the season knowing a victory at home against Liverpool Feds. That game at home, by the way, now is at Turf Moor. They have moved it to the men's ground. You can see entirely what they're thinking. Burnley are thinking, we'll win the league at the men's stadium in front of a big crowd. But with Forest not playing this weekend in the league, Wolves have got Burnley. Now, anything other than a Burnley win puts the league back in Forest's hands going into the final day of the season. A draw, obviously Forest will be a point clear. A Wolves victory, yes, Forest and Wolves will be tied on 51 points, but Forest's goal difference, as we've said time and time again on this show, far and outweighs Wolves's. So anything other than a Burnley win this weekend means that Forest will be the ones in control going into final day. If Burnley win this weekend, then Burnley will be in control going into final day. Whatever Wolves do, they need other results to go their way. But at the very least, Forest will be in the conversation of the title going into final day. If Wolves lose this weekend, then they cannot win the title. So this weekend, really important for all three teams in the Northern Premier Division title race. So that's the Northern Premier Division. Let's go through and have a look at the Southern Premier Division now. So results in this one, really significant again towards the top. It's that time of the year where every single goal really does matter. Billericay Town 1, Plymouth Argyle 1, Lily Greenslade with the goal for Plymouth, Che Thomas with the goal for Billericay Town in a 1-1 draw. Could be a really important point that for Plymouth. Cheltenham Town 3, Crawley Wasps 1. Henna Butcher, 15th and 18th minute. Amy Wathen in the 75th minute, also with a goal for Cheltenham. Crawley Wasps getting 1. Oana Elaine Negra getting the goal for Crawley, already relegated Crawley, of course. Milton Keynes Dons 0, Ipswich Town 2. Ipswich Town then getting the important 3 points that they need. Natasha King with one of their goals in the Natasha Thomas getting one of their goals in the first half, and second half, also in the first half, Abigail Lafayette from the penalty spot. So Ipswich were 2-0 up by half time. They held on to it against Milton Keynes Dons, and they win by 2-0. Portsmouth 1, Oxford United 2. Really important away win for Oxford in the title race, who came from a goal down in the second half. Danielle Lane in the 56th minute to put Portsmouth in front. That lasted only a couple of minutes. Tommy Oliver in the 58th minute equalised for Oxford. Looked as though it was going to be heading for a draw as they went into stoppage time, but then Carly Johns in the 2nd minute of stoppage time scored for Oxford and gave them the 2-1 victory, which does wonders for them in the title race, particularly with Ipswich winning and Watford also winning over London Bees. Bianca Baptiste in the 38th minute, Poppy Wilson in the 86th minute with the 2 goals for Watford. So they go into the cup final on the back of a win 2-0 over the Bees. What it means for the table then. Oxford United top by a point and with a game in hand. Watford and Ipswich chasing them down. They're on 47 points each with 2 games to play. Portsmouth are now 5 points back with 2 games to play. So Portsmouth for me now out of the title race. And the reason I say that is because Oxford have got to play both Watford and Ipswich. Now, a point or 1 win for Oxford in their final 3 games. They've got Gillingham sandwiched in between those. 1 win for Oxford puts Portsmouth out of the race. And because Oxford are playing Watford next Thursday, it's guaranteed to be a point at least for either of those sides. Now, I'll explain what I mean by that. In that either Oxford win and Portsmouth are out the title race, Watford win and Portsmouth are out of the title race, or they draw, Oxford move to 49, 6 points clear of Portsmouth, but with a 13-goal advantage, and Watford move to 48. Then when Oxford play Ipswich, you've got the same situation. Either Ipswich win and Portsmouth are out the title race, Oxford win and Portsmouth are out the title race, or they draw as well. And if Oxford have drawn with Watford, that's 2 points and Portsmouth are out the title race. So extremely Portsmouth can't win the title now because the teams around them will win or pick up the points that they need. So it's a 3-horse race now in the Southern Premier Division, but it is so tight. Watford, of course, coming down from the Championship last season, looking to go straight back up. Just a point behind Oxford now. Like I say, it's in Oxford's hands, but it's not an easy run-in at all because they've got to go to Watford and go to Ipswich. They're away games as well. So it is going to be very difficult for Oxford. Down towards the bottom, it's all going to come down to those games between those sides. Let's have a look at that run-in. As we say, we'll start at the top. So Watford have got Oxford next Thursday. None of the sides are in action this weekend, by the way. Oxford are in their County Cup Final. Ipswich have a free weekend. Watford, of course, are in the Cup Final. So next Thursday is Watford against Oxford. Then April the 30th, you have what would be the final day of the season, apart from the fact that on May the 7th, Oxford then have to travel to Ipswich after that postponed game that, Oxford to Ipswich is too far to play in midweek. So when you have fixtures that are postponed this late in the season, it makes it very difficult. So that could well be a title decider. Interesting, we'll talk about new fixtures and title deciders in a moment. But it's a very difficult run-in for Oxford, but it is still in their hands. But those teams are also obviously vying for a title race, so vying for the title themselves, So it is going to be a very interesting few weeks in the Southern Premier Division. Division 1 North, let's go back. I forgot the Southern Premier Division bottom run-in. So here we got London Bees on 17 points with 2 games to go. Plymouth Argyle on 16 points with 1 game to go. And Bridgewater United on 14 points with 2 games to go. But as you can see there, it's now back-to-back games. London Bees and Bridgewater United back-to-back to finish the season. Now, of course, it could be that both of those sides survive. Of course, only one could go down. London Bees know a victory this weekend away at Bridgewater would see them safe. They don't have the goal difference advantage. London Bees are on -24. Bridgewater United are on -18. So 4 points from those 2 games, a win and a draw, would be fine for Bridgewater. They don't have to win both of those games. London Bees need a win in one of those 2 games, because if they don't get a win in one of those 2 games, they could get 2 draws, of course, but if they don't get a win, they are in danger, particularly with Plymouth against MK Dons. MK Dons, yes, are in 5th. Plymouth in 10th, fighting for survival. MK Dons, nothing to play for. They can't get up to 4th; they're too far back. And because there's only 1 point between 5th and 7th, there's only 4 points between 5th and 8th. The 5th, not saying it's elevated their position at all, but it's a lot closer. You say, it's 10th against 5th, but it could easily be 10th against 8th because it is so tight in that midfield. So Plymouth know what they've got to do. Again, they'll be hoping that London Bees help them out a bit, because if they do lose that game, they need Bridgewater United not to pick up points. 2 draws for Bridgewater United would see them above Plymouth as well. So 2 points could be enough, but it's going to be really interesting to see, particularly this weekend going into that final day. Got something slightly different planned for next week, which obviously you'll see, and I suspect I might push it back to Friday, purely because of that Watford-Oxford game on the Thursday. What I don't want to do is go for all the permutations on Thursday, and then something happens in Oxford against Watford that completely changes the look of the top of the table. So I may push next week's back to Friday. Keep an eye on my social media for that. And then on the final day, as I say, Bridgewater against London as well. I think having the final day of the season at London Bees helps them, and they're the ones in the driving seat because they know that 1 win will see them safe. Right, let's go through then now to the Division 1 North. Lots to talk about here, mostly surrounding Leeds United and them trying to get all of their games in that they were struggling with earlier on in the season. So on Thursday, great game between them and Hull City, a 5-3 victory for Leeds United, who haven't put any of their goal scorers up yet, which is extremely helpful. Thank you very much. Goals for Hull City, 2 for Laura Bartup and 1 for Hope Knight, but it's Leeds that come away with the 5-3 victory. Durham Sestra, 2-0 victors over Leeds United then at the weekend. Erin Nicholson in the 16th minute, Ella Wilson in the 56th minute with the goals for Durham. Hull City against Chorley was postponed, waterlogged pitch. Middlesbrough 0, Barnsley 2. Barnsley in this one, 2 for Emily Pierpont with the goals for Barnsley. Newcastle United, convincing victory over Bradford, 6-1. 2-0 up at half-time. Bethany Guy and Charlotte Potts in the first half. Bradford don't have their goal scorer up, so was it a penalty stroke own goal? No, it doesn't say. Helpful again. And then Newcastle in the second half, Georgia Gibson, Bethany Guy again, Rachel Lee and Charlotte Potts again. 6-1 does wonders for Newcastle's goal difference. Norton Stockton Ancients 2, Merseyrail 0. Norton Stockton Ancients now finished their season. Holly J. Manders, 8th and 63rd minute for them. So that's the end of the season for Norton Stockton Ancients. That was their final game. And then last night, a 3-1 victory for Leeds over Barnsley. And of course, the information not on yet, with it only being last night. The table then, movements in the table. Durham Sestra at the top, 6 points clear of Newcastle United. The goal difference now the same. Newcastle done themselves a favour there with that big victory over Bradford. Barnsley and Stockport County, they swap. Leeds United up a couple of places. Hull City down a couple of places. After, obviously, Hull's game was postponed. Leeds got the victory over Barnsley. Norton Stockton Ancients there stay in the middle after finishing their season, as I said. Down towards the bottom, Chorley, Middlesbrough, York, Bradford City, they all stay the same. And with one game to go, technically, any one of those four could go down. But as you'll see from the run in a minute, it's unlikely to be Chorley there because of the goal difference. And they may well know, well, they've got a game in hand over everybody else as well, but they may well know by the end of the season. If we have a look at the run-in, now, this is where it gets interesting. Well, let's have a look at the top run-in first. Now, because Newcastle had games to fit in, and essentially they weren't able to fit them in midweek, their game against Barnsley was moved to May the 7th. And then it transpired 2 days ago that Durham's game against Chorley had been moved to May the 7th as well. Durham put on their social media that it was moved so that both teams going for the Division 1 North title play their final games at the same time. Great. Totally get that. And as I said, there was, as you can see there, Durham not playing on the 30th. They were meant to play Chorley on the 30th. They've now moved that to the 7th. There was no reason other than that to move that game. So the question is, did Durham request it, or did the league mandate that they moved it? Now, I don't know the answer to this. The wording from Durham wasn't particularly clear, but if it was a Durham request, then that is fair enough. If it was a league kind of decision, then that sets a bit of a precedent, because what do they do now in the other leagues? You know, they still have a Cardiff versus Moneyfields game to fit in. So what do they do there? Because as of the time I'm recording this, it's not been put in yet. And that's too far for midweek as well. Do they then move Exeter's final game to coincide with Cardiff's final game if Cardiff don't drop points between now and then? Would Exeter want that, or is Exeter's mindset, let's bank the points and put the pressure on Cardiff to go perfect? See, in the Midlands, it doesn't have an effect because Stourbridge have already won the title. Spoiler alert, we'll get onto that in a minute. In South East, they are playing their final game at the same time anyway, and hashtag may well win that this weekend. Northern Prem, they're playing at the same time anyway, but what do they do in the Southern Prem? Because Ipswich against Oxford is on May the 7th now, because they could. So do they move the Watford game as well? You know, do they move Watford's game against Billericay Town to the 7th? Or do they wait and see what happens do they wait and see what happens on Thursday? Because if Oxford beat Watford, then that's Watford out of the title race as well. Do they wait for that? It's interesting. It's an interesting debate. I love the fact that they've tried to get everybody. I mean, they tried it earlier on in the season, get everyone to finish on the same day. It's not happened, of course, but it's an interesting prospect, and yeah, I'll be interested to see if any others move to accommodate that and have them all finishing at the same time. But that's the situation at the top of Division 1 North. At the bottom of Division 1 North, haven't got the running screen anymore because the teams involved only have one game left. So the fixture screen next week is the running screen. But Bradford need to win and they play Newcastle. So it's going to be a tall order for Bradford. I mean, you can see it on the screen there. Bradford have to win. And they are at home to Newcastle, who of course are vying for the title. Very difficult for Bradford. Let's go through then and have a look at the Division 1 Midlands, the league that's pretty much all wrapped up already. 4 results from the week. Leaford Athletic 0, Doncaster Rovers Bells 3, a hat-trick for Sophie Brown in that one gave Doncaster the 3-0 victory as they tried to keep their title hopes alive. But it was to no avail, as you can see down the bottom end there. Stourbridge 2, Northampton Town 0. 1-0 up at half-time. Millie Rogers putting Stourbridge in front. Lois Jeffries getting one midway through the second half means that Stourbridge have won the Division 1 Midlands title. 5-0 Sheffield beating Peterborough United. Mariah McIntosh with a hat-trick. Molly Waite with a couple of goals as well for Sheffield. Although, if you look at Sheffield's social media, they say that one of those goals was a Brooke Smith penalty. So, make of that what you will. And then Solihull Moors 1, Lincoln City 2. Goals in this one. Rebecca Knight getting the goal for Solihull Moors. Lincoln City with 2. Lucy Farrow and Chantel Robinson. Have a look then at the Midlands table. You can see there at the top, Stourbridge with 2 games to go for them, 3 games to go for Doncaster Rovers Bells, have claimed the Division 1 Midlands title. Stourbridge on course for 57 out of a possible 66 points. 1 loss and 3 draws so far this season means they go straight up into Tier 3, successive promotions. And they get themselves into the Northern Premier Division next season, where I don't think many teams will particularly want to face them. Doncaster Rovers Bells looks though they're going to finish the league in second. Sporting Cows are down a place, which we expected last week when Doncaster Rovers Bells played. Peterborough in fourth. They've still got 3 games to go as well, so they could climb themselves up into third. And then mid-table, Sheffield beating Solihull Moors. Sheffield winning by 5-0 over Peterborough. They leapfrog Solihull Moors by a place. They're one of 3 teams on 27 points. Down towards the bottom, Long Eaton United already relegated, as we know. Wem Town now look as though they're going to follow them. 2 games to go for both Wem Town and Leek Town, but with a 6-point margin and an 11-goal difference to overturn, looks unlikely for Wem Town. But the story in Division 1 Midlands, Stourbridge promoted to the Northern Premier Division next season. So from it'd be great to see them in the Northern Premier Division. From a personal point of view, I hope I don't see them, because that means that Forest will have been promoted, but it'd be great to see Stourbridge in Tier 3 next season. I have a feeling that they might do quite well in the summer knockout tournament as well, but that's coming in a few weeks. Right, Division 1 South-West. South East, AFC Wimbledon 5, Cambridge United 1, Norwich City 5, Ashford Town 3, Queen's Park Rangers 6, Cheshire United 1, and London Seaward 1, Actonians 3. Wimbledon then doing what they need to do in that title race. They beat Cambridge United by 5-1. Eleanor Dorey in the 28th minute, right after Rosie Russell in the 27th minute. Russell also got a second in the 57th minute. Emma Jane Pluett in the 60th minute. There's 1 goal missing for either side. Cambridge's goal came from the penalty spot to Sarah Wilshire, and Emma-Jane Plewer from the penalty spot for Wimbledon as well. So a brace for her, a brace for Rosie Russell, and one for Ellen Dory means that Wimbledon are doing what they need to do to stand a chance of taking that title. Norwich City 5, Ashford Town 3. Thrilling game here, 4-3 at half-time. So all the goals coming early on. Alice Parker with a brace, Natasha Snelling, Freya Simmons and Megan Todd with the goals for Norwich. Ashford, a brace for Anya Kinane, 9 and 22nd minute. And then a 40... Well, that says 40 plus 8. I don't know if that's 45 plus 8 or 45 plus 3, but 40 plus 8. Amy Dern with the goal for Ashford Town before half-time. So 4-3 at half-time. Norwich City 5-3 winners overall. Big victory for Queen's Park Rangers over Cheshire United as well by 6-1. So goals in this one when full-time decides it wants to load, which it's deciding not to at the moment. Doesn't like this one particular game, evidently. So will it load up? No, it's not going to load up that one either for me. This is great, isn't it? Queen's Park Rangers 6, Cheshire United 1. At full time is not playing ball for me. If I can make it do what I need it to do. Division 1 South East. There we go. A hat-trick for Grace Stanley, 1 for Ellen Wardle, 1 for Ellie Searle and 1 for Kasia Pettit for Queen's Park Rangers, beating Cheshire by 6-1. Dorian Samani Sani in the 6th minute with the goal for Cheshire, but Queen's Park Rangers then just took over the game. And London Seaward 1, Actonians 3. Game of the substitutes, really. Actonians Natsumi Kano with the only goal from the starting... starting 22. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's 10 starts. 10 starters for Actonians, but 3 substitutes. I have a feeling somebody's been missed off the list there. But Samira Khan and Rochelle Shakes with goals off the substitutes bench for Actonians. Perseus Oteng, the only goal for London Seaward, again off the substitutes bench. What that means for the South East table is that none of it matters apart from the 2 teams at the top, but Norwich City have gone ahead of London Seaward. Hashtag United still just need 1 win from their final 2 games to take the title. They didn't play this weekend, much like Wimbledon aren't playing this coming weekend when Hashtag United take on Queen's Park Rangers. So the Hashtag could win the league this weekend with a victory over Queen's Park Rangers. Anything other than that, and it will come down to the final day. Incidentally, 2 draws are enough for Hashtag because of the goal difference. So they just need 2 points from 2 games to get themselves into the Southern Premier Division next season. And there it is with the South East running. So they're away at QPR this weekend. Then they're at home to QPR on the final day when Wimbledon take on now 3rd place Norwich. So not an easy final game for Wimbledon, whereas Hashtag, as I said, just need 2 points from 2 games. Right, an awful lot to go through in Division 1 South West. Plenty of games here. So, start last Thursday. Portishead Town 0, Cardiff City 3. You remember Cardiff with 3 games this week, or supposedly 3 games this week, to try and catch up to Exeter by the end of the season. Terry Jo Guavin and 2 for Ellie Sargent with the goals for Cardiff City. Then we move into the weekend. A goalless draw between Bournemouth and Maidenhead. Maidenhead had Megan Halfacree sent off in that game, but a 0-0 draw there. Larkhall Athletic, desperate 3 points they needed. A 6-0 victory over AFC St Austell. 2 for Grace Eagles, 1 for Lydia Newton, Chloe Snook and 2 for Jessie Wills as well. 6-0 winners, Larkhall Athletic over AFC St Austell. Exeter City 4, Chelsea 2. So Exeter doing what they need to do as well. Maisie Guimer and Sky Bacon with the goals for Chelsea, 1 either side of half-time. A hat-trick for Jenna Markham for Exeter, 31st, 48th, 57th minute. Zoe Watkins had opened the scoring for Exeter after just a quarter of an hour. Moneyfields against Cardiff City postponed. Now, this is another interesting one because on the Saturday, Cardiff and Moneyfields learnt that the game was postponed because of a waterlogged pitch. And that was at midday on Saturday. So fair enough, a day early. At 3 o'clock on the Saturday, the men's team that play at that ground played a game. So it was waterlogged for Sunday at midday on Saturday. By 3 o'clock on Saturday, it was all right for the men's team to play a game on it, which has caused no end of problems because it's too far to go midweek. And Moneyfields now have 2 games to make up, one of which is against St Austell, which is on May the 7th. Again, too far for midweek. So Cardiff is too far for midweek as well. So you're looking at maybe May the 14th for that game to be played, because there is no midweek slot for them because it's too far. So, and I have heard that Cardiff potentially want it to be played at a neutral venue between the two. I can understand why Moneyfields wouldn't want to go for that, because they'd lose out on any match day revenue they have from their own ground, and they've got to travel when they shouldn't have to travel. They're the home side. So South West is very messy. At the time of this recording, that game still hasn't been scheduled. And see, by the end of play today, that takes out Tuesday, everything up to Tuesday because of that 5 clear day notice period. By the end of tomorrow, that takes out next Wednesday. And it is just, like you say, because it can't be midweek, really, you're looking at May the 14th, only 6 days before the end of season awards ceremony, which does not give the league a lot of time. So that's the situation there. Southampton women 5, Keynsham Town 0. Shannon Sivright in the 4th and 58th minute, Brittany Gill in the 21st minute, Shannon Albury in the 34th and the 83rd minute. 5-0 Southampton women's lead Keynsham. Swindon Town 1, Portishead Town 1. 1-1 draw there. Swindon opening scoring early. Emerson Evans in the 7th minute. Hannah Price equalising for Portishead just 2 minutes from time off the substitutes bench. And then we get into last night, where Cardiff go to Larkhall and win by 8-1. No information about that game yet. And Portishead 2, Keynsham Town 0. Again, no information about that game on the full-time site yet. So that's the situation with all of the results. Here's the South West table then. Exeter City leading Cardiff by 6 points, but Cardiff have 2 games in hand. And Cardiff now, with that 8-1 victory last night, have given themselves the cushion on the goal difference as well. Exeter only have 1 game against Swindon to try and get that goal difference up, but Cardiff kind of know now that if they win their remaining 3 games, they'll go up. But this is what I was saying earlier about this situation in Division 1 North, and does it get moved through into the other leagues? Because if I was Exeter, would you rather play on the 30th, bank that result and put the pressure on Cardiff, or not play for a month and risk going out of match fitness just to play it at the same time? It's an interesting, there are pros and cons for both. Personally, I'd want to get the points banked and put the pressure on. So it'll be interesting to see what, if anything, happens from that. Down towards the bottom, Larkhall Athletic are now 6 points away from safety with 2 games to play. But because they also have to overturn a 14-goal difference, they're pretty much relegated after that defeat to Cardiff now. That 7-goal difference defeat that moved them from minus 26 in all it's kind of doable to minus 33 has just made it very difficult for Larkhall, particularly because they've got Bournemouth coming up this weekend. Sense that Division 1 South West at the bottom at least will be sorted by this weekend, because even if they get the victory over Bournemouth, they've then got Maidenhead on the final day of the season. And, that could, of course, be a loser goes down, but it would need quite a big goal swing, you feel, to make that the case. If we have a look at the South West running at the top only now, as I said, because I think at the bottom is pretty much sorted. So there's the situation. So Cardiff have got Swindon this weekend with Exeter not playing. Then Exeter have got Swindon on the 30th. Cardiff have got Southampton women, who are in third, so it's not easy for Cardiff either. Then Cardiff have got to get this Moneyfields game in. So Cardiff, yes, they need to win their remaining 3 games realistically probably to go up, but they've got 3rd and 4th to play. So it's not going to be easy for Cardiff. I remain with my gut instinct that I think it is going to be Exeter, because I just feel that Cardiff may well drop points somewhere in that. I was looking at the interesting stats earlier on in the week that before Christmas, between the start of the season and Christmas, Cardiff played 15 and won 15 in all competitions. Then after Christmas, they have played 13 and won 7. So they've dropped points lost or dropped points on 6 occasions after Christmas, after going perfect up to Christmas. So there really is a tale of 2 halves of the season for Cardiff. Right, those are all of the results from the past 7 days. Let's have a look now at the Northern Premier Division fixtures coming up this weekend. Now, this is very much, and you'll see this across the board, is that this weekend, not many teams are playing this weekend. This is generally the weekend of some county cup finals being played. But it's generally the weekend of teams that were on 20 getting to 21 ahead of the final day next week. So tonight, Loughborough Lightning against West Bromwich Albion. You'd think West Brom are probably going to get at least a point from this game, and mean that Boldmere needs something from both of their final games. Well, they need something from both of their final games anyway. That's that. And then on the weekend, 7th place FAWNL take on currently 10th place West Brom. It's that big game, Burnley against Wolves. That may well decide the title. Huddersfield against Derby, 8th against 4th. Liverpool Feds against Boldmere St Michael's, 9th against 11th. Move through to the Southern Premier Division, just 2 games. Bridgewater United against London Bees, that is 11th against 9th. We've spoken about that in that run-in section. MK Dons against Portsmouth is now a little bit of a nothing game between 5th and 4th. But Portsmouth will be keen to get a victory away there and just keep themselves in the conversation slightly, although I think that the maths means that they just will not do it because they don't have the goal difference. Either, as I said, Watford get something from the Oxford game and the goal difference is too much, or Oxford get the win and then Portsmouth are out of it anyway. Division 1 North, 3 games. Hull against Chorley, which was the postponed game last week. They're trying again this weekend. Leeds against Newcastle, 5th against 2nd. Merseyrail take on Stockport, 12th against 4th. As I said, none of the teams in that battle towards the bottom, i.e. Bradford, York or Middlesbrough, are in action this weekend. Newcastle, with one of their games in hand over Durham, take on Leeds United. Again, they need to win. The goal difference is tied at the moment, so it could come down to that as well, of course. So Newcastle will want a big win as much as possible. Division 1 Midlands, Northampton Town against Solihull Moors is 5th against 8th. Peterborough United against Stourbridge, 4th against 1st. Wem Town against Doncaster Rovers Bells, 11th against 2nd. And Leek Town against Sheffield is 10th against 7th. So the only game really that matters in Division 1 Midlands is that one between Wem Town and Doncaster Rovers Bells. Wem Town have to win and win relatively comfortably to give themselves any hope going into the final day of the season. But anything other than a win, and even if Sheffield, if Leek Town get a point against Sheffield, that's it for Wem Town. They are relegated into Tier 5. Division 1 South East, again, just 3 games taking place. Actonians against Ashford Town. That will be the end of Ashford Town's season. That's 5th against 6th. Chesham United against Cambridge United. That is 9th against 8th. And Queen's Park Rangers take on Hashtag United, as we've mentioned, 7th against 1st. A win for Hashtag United would mean they take the title this weekend with a game to go. And Division 1 South West, 5 games in this one. AFC Hostel against Moneyfields, 12th against 4th. Larkhall Athletic against Bournemouth is 11th against 5th. Maidenhead United take on Chelsea, 10th against 7th. Southampton Women's against Portishead Town, that's 3rd against 9th. And Swindon Town against Cardiff City, 6th against 2nd. Again, so Cardiff City need to win. You've kind of got that goal difference advantage now, so they probably don't need to win too heavily but they do need to win. And down towards the bottom, Larkhall against AFC St Bournemouth. Larkhall need to win and win relatively comfortably. That will do it for all the stuff in the league over the next 7 days. But there is one more game to talk about, and that is the FAWNL Cup Final between Nottingham Forest and Watford, taking place at the Pirelli Stadium in Burton, 3:30 on Sunday. So Forest looking for their second trophy in as many seasons after winning the Plate last season. Watford, of course, were in the Championship, and they've come down into the Southern Premier Division. So 3:30 at Burton's Pirelli Stadium for Forest against Watford. I am very much looking forward to it, and hopefully, from my point of view, see Forest lift another trophy. But that's happening on Sunday, which is why, of course, Forest and Watford aren't in the title race league challenges this weekend. Right, sorry to butt in here and interrupt myself, but this is me a few hours after the recording of this week's show. Now, the reason I have jumped in here is that I wasn't sure this morning if I was able to announce this or not, but I am now able to, is that the FAWNL Cup Final between Forest and Watford will be broadcast audio commentary on the BBC Sports website. I will be there covering that game for BBC Radio Nottingham. So I'll be posting the link to the radio commentary on my social media just before the game. So when your games are finished, if you want to catch the remainder of the first half and the second half of the Cup Final, you will be able to do so on the BBC Sport website. As I said, I will be there commentating with former Forest player Kelly Kennock, who was the all-time leading appearance holder for Forest until current captain Lindsay Harkin overtook that this season. So 3:30 on the BBC Sport website, Nottingham Forest against Watford in the FAWNL Cup Final. But that will do it for this week's Women's Football Chat. Thank you very much for watching and or listening, as always, to this week's show. Keep supporting your local women's football team. I hope that we are past the worst of the weather, and that all the games should happen this weekend. However, particularly in the East Midlands, it's meant to rain all of Friday, rain the vast majority of Saturday, and rain for the vast majority of Sunday. So we may see some postponements still towards the back end of the season. But so check before you travel, change of venues and all that sort of thing, as I say every week. But thank you so much for watching and or listening to this week's Women's Football Chat, and goodbye.